Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Friday, November 8th, 2024. I, of course, am with Originator Success here with your daily mortgage rate update, the only place on the web where you guys get to join me live each and every weekday morning. I'm playing with my lights here. I need the warm lighting. Got that skin. Anyway, good morning, y'all. Great to see you. Remember, you can join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, broadcasting to you on Facebook and on YouTube. If you'd like to go ahead and join me late and you're watching on the replay, give me a hashtag replay in the comments. Let me know that you were here. Don't forget to smash that like button, tag an LO friend, share us in the group. If you're here this morning, make sure you say good morning. If you'd like to sign up for our free lock advice, we send out an email each and every weekday morning, www.ratelockadvice.com. We send out our text alerts. If you'd like to sign up for those were handy yesterday during the Fed meeting, www.ratetextalerts.com. And last but not least, if you'd like to go ahead and be reminded that I am going live each morning, you can sign up for that reminder as well. And don't forget to check us out at originatorssuccess.com. Find out how we help you get loans from Google and social media. Let's say hi to the live folks here this morning. Megan Lindbergh, good morning. How come this didn't go away? Hold on, let me make this go away here. There we go. Okay. Megan Lindbergh, good morning. Lisa Norman, great to see you here. Mallory Fotiadis, welcome. Rob Stewart, Kyle Mazikas, Angela Walters, great to have you guys here. Angela, Julie Lawrence, great to see you. Allison Foy, Dave Holland, good morning, sunshine. Great to have you here, my friend. Robert Bashirs, good morning, sir. Glad you are here. Randy Leonhardt, Colin Jordan, Mike Tebow, Michael Love, Debbie Richardson, Amy Blauser, Cindy Pulliam. Good morning, y'all. So, what do you guys think? Just a quick informal survey. I don't even have anything set up that you can give me a thing. Do you like it when I'm on solo, or what do you think if I open up the show and have guests join? Open it up to you guys when you join live and post the link. And Ron Siegel hopped on. Mike Morano was going to hop on, but it didn't seem to let him in. And somebody else was joining, and forgive me, I don't remember who it was, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Solo or duet? Solo or duet? Should I do a more talk showy where I'm chatting with other people? Of course, I interact with you guys. You have to type it in, but we have a little bit of a delay, but we get it this way. Tim Klyla, Deb Dickinson, good morning. Yasmin Martin. Giddy up, Mr. Randy Teakle. Lisa, he likes the duet version, right? Yeah. So, and who does anybody want to hop on today? If I post the link, let's do that. You guys seem to like it. I like it too. I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to put it in the chat. Let's try it. I'm going to post it. It's in there. So I put the link in the chat, and then Dave, that's too much work for me to actually like schedule somebody. But if anybody wants to pop on, go ahead and click that link. And Dave, I'm washing my cat's feet, or you would hop on, dude. We don't want to see that kind of stuff. Whatever you do on OnlyFans is between you and your subscribers, Dave. You don't have to share that with us, man. Mike said, I think you can only do one at a time. No, it says you can invite up to 10 guests. So be here. Yeah, so maybe I'll open it up one day of the week, maybe like Fridays. That would be fun. We'll do like Fridays. So and then you guys will know that it's coming. So I'll post it out there. Let's do that. So today's Friday. I'm going to throw it out there. We'll do a recap. Anybody that wants to use that link, I'll post it one more time. Anybody that wants to hop on, and we'll try it out, and we'll talk about it. So in the meantime, I'm going to jump down. Let's recap what happened this week. Let's go over what's going on this week. The advice remains to cautiously float everything. Let me get rid of some of the, hold on. I got to get rid of that. All right. There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to share my screen. We'll talk about what's going on in the markets, what happened yesterday, and we're going to recap it all. So first things first, rate sheets today are going to be much better than what we have seen the last couple of days, continuing to improve. We're up 3 basis points on the morning. Being up 3 basis points is not a big deal by itself. However, this is confirmation of yesterday's improvement. Look at this chart down here. Let me see if I can zoom in and if it'll let me scroll. Okay, good. So hold on. I'm going to keep doing this. What that 3 basis points does, look right here. Look at this 5-day chart that I've got up here, right? And as we look at this, come on, make my mouse bigger. There it is. So take a look at this. It's a confirmation of yesterday's improvement. That is key, that we're not just seeing bonds rebound because they were oversold and then drop back down. This is super important. And it's struggling to stay up there, but even just being up a few basis points. 10-year treasury yield is at 4.3. Let's look back and remember on Wednesday after the election, we capped out at 4.43. Now, remember, after the election, I had gotten this question so often, and they said, Hammer, what's going to happen after the election? What's that's going to do? And I said, it's really not going to have an effect on rates immediately. It's going to have an effect on rates longer term, but it's not going to have an effect on rates immediately. And then what happened is that immediately after the election, we saw a knee-jerk reaction. And what I said was, I wasn't worried about that. Like, it was a one-day knee-jerk reaction. And that's exactly what has been the case. When we look back here, Wednesday is the 6th. It was right here. So after the election, we had this huge drop. And let me bring this over so that you guys can kind of, right? So after the election, we had this huge drop in mortgage-backed security pricing and rates jumped. But we had this big buildup right before that. So it felt like, oh my goodness, we have this huge, we're down 45 basis points, but we really weren't down more than 10 basis points from when pricing came out the day before. It wasn't a big deal. And since then, look at that recovery. And what we're seeing in the headlines, let me pop this over like this. What we're seeing in the headlines is the unwinding of the Trump trade. Here it is. So this article here, Trump trades, come on, bring up the Trump trades are being dialed back. And this is exactly what I expected. So I'm going to talk about the Fed meeting next, but we're just kind of, highlighting first on the election. So what happened was right after the election, we saw this immediate drop. We had this great big buildup, and then we had an immediate drop. And then it kind of recovered. Now, yesterday at the Fed meeting, look at this recovery. It's wonderful to see. And that's why I have been in that cautiously floating stance and said, absolutely do not lock after the election, even though we were down 50 basis points, 45 basis points. And you would think, oh my goodness, it's a sell-off, panic. And we were like, no, don't lock. It's going to recover. It's going to settle. So we knew we were going to see a lot of volatility this week, and that's exactly what we've seen. But looking back on where we started the week, I mean, look here. Let's look at the candlesticks, right? So down here, let's take a look on Monday, October 28th, just about 2 weeks ago. Mortgage-backed securities ended the day at 98.98. Now, again, right now they're at 99.60, we'll call it, right? So they were at 100, 98.98. We're going to call, 99. 98.98. We're going to round this and say 99. We're up to 99.60. We're 60 basis points better than where we were October 28th. That's a significant improvement on rate sheets. And we've seen this volatility, right? It was down, then it was up 99.27, then it was down 98.99, then it was 99, then it was 98.83, then it was up to 99.19, then it was up to 99.45. Then after the election, it dropped to 99.03. Then the Fed meeting, we're back up to 99.56. This morning, we're at 99.60. So what does this really kind of say? Well, first things first, rates have capped out for the near term. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't see another reversal. Look at what we saw coming out of September. Here were our September highs for mortgage-backed securities. Now, remember, the higher mortgage-backed security pricing is, the better your rate sheet pricing is. When you gain pricing for mortgage bonds, your pricing on your rate sheet improves. When you lose pricing and it goes down, you lose pricing on your rate sheets. Now, after September, we saw that drop. Then it kind of leveled out. It looked like we might be capping at that point, and instead we saw another drop. Now, this has been a volatile move. Yesterday, I drew some charts and showed you how we're kind of bouncing off that right about here, right in the middle here, right around that 99 mark, right? We're just kind of holding steady there. Now, we've seen an improvement. A couple of things I want to point out to you on the technicals before we talk more about the Fed in a minute. First things first, if we take a look here at the 200-day moving average. That was one of the things that as we were dropping below it, I had pointed out in the past that, we didn't know, were we going to see like a 1 day? Were we going to see a couple of days like we did here? Or if we go back even further, there's been times, let me change this to a year. You could take a look where in the past we've spent much longer stretches of time like we did here back in April, right? Where we broke below the 200-day moving average and it stayed there for quite a while before bouncing back. So we've seen that recovery here and an improvement. We've seen that recovery here and more improvement. And what we're watching here, how far will we improve? Now, again, going back in the past, the events matter. It's not just some technicals, right? It matters why we're seeing that behavior. We broke above the 200-day moving average, at the end of last year. And then, like, for example, here back in February, we were below it, flirting, and then eventually it improved. We were broke down below it big time here. Remember, that was April 10th. That was the inflation data, right? The inflation data came in a lot hotter than expected, and it blew up the expectation of Fed rate cuts then. We dropped down. It took quite a while to see that rebound. That was April 10th. We came back above on May 6th, almost a month later. Now, this time around, we broke below on October 23rd, right? We were still above it here on the 22nd. And it's been about 3 weeks that we're breaking back above it. So what I'm hoping to see here is I'm hoping to see that it continues to improve and that we get back up probably to the 100-day moving average, this green line here. I'm not worried about the 25-day moving average giving us much technical resistance. It could give us a little bit of something to kind of bite onto for the day, but I'm not worried about not being able to break that. But I'd like to see us get back up. If we could get back up here, that's 100.16. It's about 50 basis points higher than where we're at now, which is really not that unheard of. That'll take us back to this first leg before we started to lose ground again here in the middle of October for no real clear reason. Remember, there wasn't really anything that happened that drove us down here. It just kind of trading sentiment shifted. And I think we could see that here. What does that do for rate sheets? Well, take a look here at Mortgage News Daily. Use this for a reference point. We were as high as 7 1/8 according to Mortgage News Daily. And then yesterday, they were back to back down to below 7. It dropped below 7, 6.98 for the first time since the 25th, which was 2 weeks ago, right? So the first time in 2 weeks that we broke back below there. How far down will it go? I think we get maybe the 6 5/8 area is what we'll see here on like Mortgage News Daily's 6 3/4 ish. That's our new normal. That's where we're going to see rates kind of settle in for a while. I think that's about the best we're going to get for a bit. And we'll see that here. As far as the 10-year yield, I don't think that it can drop much more than that 200-day moving average. But even if it did get down here, that's for basically around 4.19, 4.20, right? And we're at 4.29. So I do think we could see it get down here and kind of gravitate to and hold to this 200-day moving average. So my idea is I think rates have room to improve a little bit further. I think we've got the market sentiment for it. Taking a look at things like these comments where the Trump trade is being dialed back. Remember, it was the Trump trade, the idea that we would see tariffs and a stronger economy. That would lead to less of a reason for the Fed to cut rates. And mortgage rates are not the Fed rate, but the reality is rates are all inclusive, right? So if the economy is doing well, generally you're going to have higher rates, higher borrowing costs, all of that stuff. It's part of that kind of economic win. Generally, you only see low rates during problems, right? Recessions, pandemics, everything falling apart. That's when we saw those low rates. Why? Because the reason rates go down, and I mean, I'm going to very simplistic here, but just look at it from a point of view, right? If we're selling cars, if I go ahead, like let's say I just ordered my Jeep, right? Y'all know that I have a new Jeep coming. It looks exactly like my old Jeep. I know I'm boring and kind of silly, but let me show this to you here. And let me know if this is all making sense, by the way, because I feel like I'm doing a lot of chatting here. But All right. I wanted to show you guys real quick. So I ordered a 2025 Jeep Wrangler, and that was actually economically a really dumb thing to do. Now, emotionally, I'm very excited about it, but economically, it's a dumb thing to do. Why? Because even though I was able to get a really decent discount, I'm not able to take advantage of some of these like serious discounts that are being offered through the Stellantis for 2024. So what happens is Jeep is a perfect example. They have too much inventory sitting on the lots. They didn't sell as many vehicles as they expected. Jeep Wranglers are sitting on the lots. So what does it say? $3,000 bonus cash allowance or 0% APR on a 2024 Wrangler gas model. Now, I couldn't find the model that I want. I couldn't find the stuff that I wanted, so I went with the 2025. My point here is look at the 0% APR. Lower interest rates are given to entice sales. That's not just here. That's on a lot of things. You're going to see that, right? Well, if they're selling, if the economy is doing well, you won't see lower interest rates. There's no reason for lower interest rates. You don't need to encourage business borrowing money for growth if businesses are already growing. If we're not seeing a huge drop in a huge jump in unemployment, a huge drop in jobs created, if we're not seeing a weak labor market. Now, we've talked at length about some of the underlying weakness, but at the end of the day, it's not enough. Now, I know that most people, we take a look here and it's just like what this article says. You know, if the US is heading for a soft landing, why do people feel like there's no money? Well, a lot of the reason the economy is doing well is because people are spending money they don't have. They're living on credit. We have a credit bubble forming. That scares me. If the credit bubble bursts, then we're going to see the shit hit the fan. And I'm hoping it doesn't for a lot of reasons, but that's kind of where we're at right now. So Trump winning, recapping, and again, I don't care how you feel about Trump and all that stuff, but Trump winning is going to give a majority of Americans an optimistic vibe on their own economic future. All right. When you look at many people think that we are going to have a better true economy under Trump. It creates an optimism, and that means people are more likely to spend, people are more likely to do these things. So all of this, it leads us to a market where no, rates are not going to drop much lower. They don't need to. We don't need to see rates just turn around and go lower because the economy is still doing what it's doing. All right. So keep all of that in your mind. And I wanted to show you guys too. It came up on my Facebook feed before. Let's see if it's there, right? I know that we come off of a September and you know, after basically where it felt like we had our ass kicked, but look at, this is a memory on, come up I have super high speed internet and it doesn't matter. How do I pull up my own thing again? I usually try to click on my face. Come on. There we go. Okay. So I posted this because it came up so I'll use it and show it. Come on. Man, this sucks. All right. So this is a memory from a year ago. This is a Bloomberg article, November 8th, 2023, right? A year ago. Mortgage rates tumble by most in more than a year. Contract rate dropped 25 basis points last week to 7.61. And that's a Freddie Mac rate, which means it's lower than what rates really were because it includes points and all that stuff in their survey, right? So we were dealing with the high sevens a year ago. Mortgage applications for home purchases rose the most since June. A year ago, rates dropped. We were celebrating to have rates that were at 7.75 because they were falling out of the eights. Remember, October of last year, we had rates in the eights. Okay. So it's not as bad. You just kind of have to see this to be reminded. The reality is, I think that over the next couple of weeks, we're going to see rates continue to improve a little bit. I think we've got room to see it happen here on the bond side. I think that we're going to see rates get maybe into the high sixes again, mid to high sixes, and that's where we're going to settle. And you know what? we can be okay with that. We can get business with that. We can get refis with that. We're going to have some, we'll see where we go in 2025. But right now, what the Fed did yesterday is they really left the door open. They cut rates by a quarter point. They left the door open for a December cut. I think we do see a quarter point cut in December. One thing in particular that Powell said at his press conference jumped out at me. And he said, we are on a rate cutting path. A path is a preset destined situation that they've kind of had it in their head. Now, the quarter point rate cut that we got yesterday was unanimous, by the way, and that's important because it shows where the Fed officials' heads really are at. Even though they all did all the speaking and they sounded hawkish, they all agreed to cut rates by a quarter point. It was a unanimous vote. So heading into here, I think we see one more cut in December. It's a quarter point. And then I think we start to go into every other month that we see a cut heading in 2025. Rates are not forecast to go as low in 2025. They're not forecast now to go as low in 2025 as we were forecasting back in early September, but they still will drop. And I think we're going to, instead of rates in the fives, I think we're going to have rates in the sixes. The low to mid sixes would be wonderful. I mean, the lower, the better, of course, but rates in the fives would ultimately be great, but I don't think we're going to get there. I don't think we're going to see that happen. I think we're more likely to see rates into the low and mid sixes, but let's see what happens. But for the next couple of months ending this year, it's not likely that we see rates go much lower than where we kind of maybe that 6.5 at a low point. 6.75 becomes our average rate for the next couple of months. So yeah, Deb said, I just bought a 24 Rubicon, got a screaming deal last weekend. Deb, that is awesome. Congrats to you, my friend. Is it your first Jeep Wrangler? They're a lot of fun. Robert said, what the hell you mean we're not going to see twos by the end of Q1? Yeah, right. I mean, come on. Like somebody will forecast it, but we're also not going to see eights. All these people that were forecasting if Trump wins, we're going to see inflation and tariffs and blah, 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 and rate. We're not going to see that either. It's not where we need to be. And I think what happened is the idea of what that neutral rate is for this Fed funds rate, it's gone higher. Neutral Fed funds rate. Remember, if the Fed cuts rates, it's inflationary, except for now. Why not now? Because the Fed has overshot with the Fed funds rate and is bringing it back down to a neutral level. And that's why it's not inflationary for these Fed rate cuts. They're not inflationary. As long as they don't overshoot and go lower. If they go past that and we go too low, then you'll see inflation. That's inflationary, and then they'll come back up. That's what this whole balance is and how it all works and what they're doing. So anyway, I hope that helps you guys for now. At least we are looking at rate sheets. We really, we floated through some of the worst rates here, and I know it was scary, and I was sticking strong to my idea that you needed to push through these. We did not want to lock in earlier this week. Today's the first day I would consider locking if you wanted to, anything closing near term. But I'm still floating in. Let's see where we go. We've gotten confirmation. We're up 5 basis points this morning, up 7 at the moment. We've gotten confirmation that markets are rebounding on mortgage-backed securities at the 10-year Treasury yield, 4.29, continuing to fall. This is favorable for us. So I would continue to cautiously float. Unless we see a reversal today on this, then I would only lock anything closing near term. Anything that's closing later in November, into December, you want to keep floating it. We've got time. We want to see where it goes. It's not going to be huge gains, but it could be a quarter point or 3/8 of a point. Now, for those of you that are like, oh, hey, I lock everything and lenders with a reprice policy and blah, 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 then do your thing. They're probably not even watching, right? But not everybody's got that option. And if you want to float down, generally it's got to be a pretty significant increase. Now, on a $300,000 or $400,000 purchase, if you can save somebody $5,000-$6,000 in closing costs in rebate pricing, that's not going to give you enough to float down, but that's still significant. So be good at your job and at least give that advice, right? I mean, and assess the risk and have that conversation. Ultimately, it should always be the consumer's decision, but help educate the consumer in that decision. And that's what I'm trying to help y'all do, is be educated so you can help educate. So anyway, what are you guys doing this weekend? Let me know in the comments. I got the usual stuff. We got some honeydew list. We're going to have Friendsgiving. I didn't know that was a thing till a year or two ago. Friendsgiving. We're going to have a bunch of people over on Sunday. I'm going to be smoking up hundreds of chicken wings and then doing some deep fry at the end. I got some pretty good things on my mind to make them be awesome. But let me know what you guys are doing in the comments. Would love to hear what you are up to this weekend. And also, if today's long comments were helpful to you, let me know. Always appreciate you. Because I feel narcissistic sometimes just talking about this stuff. And I feel like I talk a lot of it. Maybe because it's in my head and I've cursed in knowledge, I feel like, oh, why am I saying this? Everybody knows this. And again, I'm not taking away from anybody. You kind of forget what you know. And sometimes I feel silly talking about this stuff, like, that I feel like I'm mansplaining to y'all. And I know you guys are smarter. So it's just good for me to know. Kent, come and hang with us, baby. We're gonna have them. Kyle, you're smoking 2 briskets, dude. I have never smoked a brisket. I definitely have to do that. Rob, love the insight delivery to level is not over our heads. Appreciate you, man. Deb, your 5th Jeep purchase, but first Wrangler. Nice. Now, Deb, I gotta warn you, Rubicons, they drive rough. It's a rough ride. And it's like driving a brick. You're gonna feel it on the road. It's kind of, goes all over the place. But they're fun. They're fun as hell. And make sure you take your doors off. That's the fun of a Jeep. Did you get a soft top or a hard top? Most people get the hard top. I'm a strict soft top guy still. Rob, listen, I love eating brisket. I live next to one of the most amazing barbecue places in North Carolina, in town, but I've never made one, never smoked one myself. Robert Bashir's going to take the boat out to the middle of the Gulf, visit the hurricane since it missed you this time. Oh, you kill me, man. Yeah, at least you keep your sense of humor. So, all right, my friends, I'm going to wrap it up. Y'all have a fantastic day. I appreciate you. And thank you, Yasmin. I see your comments too. Thank you. Washington with lots of rain. Yeah. So, Allison, have fun dancing. So, all right, y'all, I'm going to wrap it up. You guys have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday.